Did you know that the average young adult in the US spent 14.4 hours per day on a screen? Or that students ages 18 to 24 are said to have the fastest internet connections among all age groups? Or that screen addiction is becoming an actual diagnosable addiction, and there are even clinics that help people overcome this obsession? And finally, did you know that US students spent over $13 billion on electronics in 2009?
All right, Michael. Basically, we're talking about the impacts our screens have on us. So, how many hours would you say you spend on a screen?
Well, I have you know that I, for a fact, am a well-respected and high-class business person, and I very rarely have any time to be distracted by absurd little pieces of text. Hold on. I gotta take this tap.
You probably could have guessed most of these statistics already. People know that screen use, especially in young adults, is increasing exponentially. But do we know what this screen use is doing to us? What are the impacts of this apparent addiction?
Okay, so yeah, I do use my phone and my computer quite frequently, but that doesn't mean anything. My social life is like the best. I mean, I have so many Facebook friends and so many Twitter followers. Whenever I need to talk to somebody, I just text them. Just like that. Technology can only make your social life better. Right?
Phones, laptops, tablets, phablets, e-readers, TVs, and all other screens have drastically impacted our ability to communicate. We can communicate faster, quicker, and easier than ever before. From this observation, it's easy to say our social life has got to be better too. But consider this. Why don't they just talk to each other? Or is face-to-face communication something that isn't done anymore? Is talking on a screen better?
The screen always offers us something, some promise of interaction, that spark of connection, but at the same time it's completely knowable and completely within our own control. So in a situation where you might be surrounded by strangers or feeling a little bit awkward or waiting for something to happen, you can always pull the phone out and ignore everybody that's around you and look like you're very busy and important, but not have to feel awkward about anything in the way that you would if you put your device down and tried to make eye contact with somebody you don't know.
Thinking about it is in terms of the amount of control that we give ourselves when we interact through screens, meaning that when we interact through screens, not only do we have the ability to control our face-to-face interaction by using the screen as a prop, right, in order to justify turning away and turning to something else, but then we also have the ability to use the screen, right, and all of the multiple distractions and other possible focuses of attention that are there.
Well, I think it's probably less about the screens, it's more about that we have these things on us. You know, right now I have my phone in my pocket, you probably have that too. And everybody you're asking out there has a phone in their pocket. So it's more like the access of it. And I was reading an article that about 90% of all the apps on phones are about communication. So in other words, we have to grab and see what's going on, what is new. So we're grabbing this phone over and over again because there's something we're missing out and we have to check on that. So it's probably more about the accessibility of it.
To test Professor Schmidlin's idea on accessibility, we asked students, when is the last time you checked them?
My phone is basically a second watch to me, so I just check my phone every 5-10 minutes just to see what time it is.
My phone probably less than 5 minutes ago.
About 2 minutes ago.
Like 3 minutes ago.
A minute ago. 2 minutes ago? 3 minutes ago maybe? 30 seconds ago.
So yeah, okay, I talk on my phone way too much and more often than face to face, and I love my social networks, but that doesn't mean anything. I'm still here, I'm still human, and look, just because I'm different does not make me any less of a person. I mean, the fact that I use all this stuff couldn't possibly affect my development, right?
Young adults between the ages of 18 and 25 are fully developed, Most of them can read, write, socialize, and are perfectly capable of living in the real world by themselves. But excessive screen use is still concerning our experts.
There certainly is a very strong inclination to operate using screens, and actually some recent research has shown that unlike a typical addiction where a certain behavior gives us a positive reward for that behavior, which stimulates the addiction, right? Behavior, reward, repeat behavior, repeat receiving the award. Screens actually tend to deny us those rewards. They tend to actually make us unhappy rather than to give us positive feelings or thoughts as a result of that. We're at a point where any sort of emotional stimulation is a reward, whether that's positive or negative. And that's sort of a depressing thought.
I think it really depends on the quantity of time. So a lot of people have related screen time to dopamine, one of the neurochemicals in the brain. When we initially use something like screen time, it's exciting, especially if we're doing a game that's fast moving and fast paced. That often is associated with an increase in dopamine, that it's motivating, it captures our attention, and we are engaged in that. But what happens over chronic use is it sort of plummets in the other direction, where people talk about being in sort of a mindless state, that it's sort of you're zoned out but continue to be watching TV, watching a movie, something you're not even maybe interested in, but you continue to do it, or playing a game and feeling like you can't. So it seems initially there's a very short-term mood benefit and attention benefit, but that ends up over time within one period of use, if it's a long period, going the opposite direction where you just feel sluggish and lethargic. Wait!
There are negative social and developmental impacts, and as time goes on and the use of screens increases, the concern will grow larger. But our experts also explain many positive social and developmental impacts too.
You have the ability to access and control and manage information and data at a much higher and more advanced level than you would previously be able to with older technologies, much less with analog or face-to-face communication.
Social media is awesome. I use social media all the time too, and we do tend to focus a lot on young people, but I would say the young person in my house often calls me out for my own technology use.
But I do think it's important to say that there's been huge advantage in educational technology that really has shown benefits, so especially for children with disabilities. I think one of the most promising areas right now, we study children with autism in our lab, and the development of technologies that help children with autism in their day-to-day life and in their learning has been amazing.
What we want to stress is a balance. Too much of anything is a bad thing, and the impacts of too much screen time are dangerous. Sometimes we need to unplug.
I give homework like go for a walk, get some sleep, read a book, talk to a stranger in a coffee shop. And so to kind of inspire them and say, the world out there is way more interesting than what happens on our little devices. But I find it a challenge for myself as well, and we have to kind of push ourselves to stay connected to the world and not just to technology.
We need to consider the balance and use screens to help us, but not so much that they end up impacting us in really negative ways. There's a balance. We need to find it before we get square eyes.